Quarterback Dylan Raiola and Matt Rhule are ready for Nebraska to be one of the most improved teams in the Big Ten this football season, and I think they're going to get there. I'll tell you how. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Good to see you again. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get started. We're going to dive into freshman quarterback Dylan Raiola and getting after it already at Nebraska. Plus, we'll have some basketball news out of Indiana and some money news about Caitlin Clark. We'll compare some things and our classics in live action coming up at the end of this podcast. You want to hang around for that. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, they're diving into spring football here with probably the most exciting quarterback prospect in the Big Ten, bar none. Matt Rhule and his staff, as you know, did a great job. I don't want to say stalking, but they were locked into this situation with five-star quarterback Dylan Raiola from Georgia. Got him to flip. Didn't really let him talk to anybody after that to make sure he didn't flip back. And now he's part of the Nebraska football team, and the Huskers are very excited about it. And they are planning to take a big step forward in 2024. Now, a lot of things have to happen in order for them to take a big step forward, but let's talk about it. First of all, Raiola, he's enrolled early. He's already there. He's getting used to campus life and going to classes. He's getting his work in on his football career. And Matt Rhule has already noticed his work ethic, and he says that Raiola realizes that all the hype around his recruitment and his arrival on campus, it's all in the past. Doesn't matter anymore. It's just zero baseline moving forward. But after all, Raiola was one of the biggest stories this offseason, if not the biggest story of the offseason, in my opinion. But it means nothing right now. So Matt Rhule talking about Raiola and how he's fitting in already. He says he's just a guy that shows up. He goes to work every single day. He works with his teammates on football stuff. He does his individual drills on his own every single day. He learns the X's and the O's, hitting the weights, doing everything that he's supposed to do. Now, one of the three quarterbacks that Rhule used, and that was part of the problem last year, they just couldn't get settled in on a guy due to injuries and turnovers at quarterback last year. But one of the guys he used, Heinrich Haarberg, he's coming back. He decided to remain at Nebraska, and Rhule says that he's setting a great example for Raiola. In fact, he pointed out that Heinrich and Raiola and even Daniel Kalen, who's the third quarterback in the quarterback room, they're all leading the entire team with their work ethic and effort and just leading the way. And he's very pleased with how everything's going right now. He also added that his freshman superstar in the making needs to not even worry about all the expectations or what other people think. He says, just look yourself in the mirror every day and know that you did everything you could do today and do it again tomorrow. By the way, Rhule's not going to go ahead and name Raiola the starter just yet, but we'll see soon enough. With some spring football, we'll give you that date once again at the end. So just to hang on for just a second. But obviously, he's going to get a pretty good, solid look from everybody coming up. Matt Rhule, he's got 1 year under his belt at Nebraska and a lot of excitement to him coming in. And you know what? He opened up about what his first year in the Big Ten was like. He said the first thing that he needed to get used to was playing and coaching in bad weather. He mentioned the wind at Illinois. He mentioned in playing 12-degree weather at Iowa. Now, I don't recall any Big Ten games being played in 12-degree weather last year, but I'll take his word for it that it was at least pretty cold and windy at Kinnick Stadium on that day. He also mentions how West Coast teams will have to come in and play in those conditions as well. UCLA comes to Lincoln in November, but Nebraska will get a break from their fall weather when they get to play at USC in the Coliseum in Los Angeles in November. I used to live in Los Angeles. November is lovely. It's perfect weather out there. So they'll really enjoy that for sure. All right. So he also mentioned how the new teams coming into the Big Ten, they're going to be bringing some high-flying offenses, right? We've talked about it here, you and I back and forth here on Locked On Big Ten. After all, Minnesota and Michigan State and Iowa were some of the lowest performing offenses in all of college football. Meanwhile, Oregon and USC and Washington are coming in. They are all ranked in the top 12 in the country in offenses. So he's got to be used to that. He specifically talked about coaching against Lincoln Riley. He's had experience doing that. Got all the respect in the world for a guy like that at USC. And he knows him well enough to know that you better defend the entire field, sideline to sideline, goal line to goal line. He has confidence in defensive coordinator Tony White to slow down the other guys in situations like that. So he's ready to take on the challenge. So there's plenty of optimism going on and a lot of hope in Nebraska for the 2024 season and for you fans out there as well. Everyone in the football building expects to improve on last year's 5-7 record. Now, that record left the Huskers just on the outside looking in regarding any postseason bowl action. They haven't been to a bowl game since 2016. It's a big sticking point with Husker fans and the Husker football program, and that is like the first goal. They want to get over the hump and get back into bowling and get bowl eligible with at least 6 wins. Now, Rhule, likes the players that he's brought in, but you know what? Something he said, and you don't hear people talking about this, and it's only been 1 year. But he talks about the development of the kids that he's had a full year to work with. We never hear about development of players anymore. It's always, who are you going to recruit? Who are you getting in from the transfer portal? Who's going to help you right away? Meanwhile, you got guys that are on the roster, have been there, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, growing, getting bigger, stronger, developing. And, maybe they don't come in as a 5-star. Maybe they're a 3-star or less. They come in, working hard every day, going to class, hitting the weights. After 2 or 3 years, they're ready to go. Development. Never hear about it anymore. So anyway, he likes some of the guys that he's had to develop over the last year as he's just getting started at Nebraska. There's also one other major area that the Huskers have to improve immediately if they want to take the next step, and that's to take care of the football. You know that. I mean, they were a turnover machine last year, particularly at the quarterback position. But if they take care of that facet alone, it should be enough to get this team winning some more of those games that they lost and getting back to being bowl eligible. So, as I said, spring game's coming up. Everybody's all excited. Mark it down, Husker fans. April 27th. That's the date for the spring game. And then the regular season opener is in Lincoln, August 31st. They'll be taking on UTEP, and that will be here sooner than later. So those are some early thoughts again on Nebraska football at this point. And I know you guys are excited about it. And I think there is a lot of optimism at Nebraska this year. All right, we got some basketball coaching news out of Bloomington that you may be interested in, Hoosier fans. We found some more information. We talked about this the other day. Caitlin Clark, how much money is she really going to make in the WNBA? It all depends. We'll have that, kind of broke that down for you. And college football's trying to fix something that I think has been a big problem. I don't know if they're actually fixing it or making it worse. I'll give you the details exactly what I'm talking about in just a minute as we continue right here on Locked On Big Ten. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what brings your ride or die alive, right? eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe you're into performance. Maybe you're into speed. Maybe you're into power. Maybe you're into just looking cool with some style. All right? eBay Motors has got you covered for all that stuff. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, like, spread the word. Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com, number 10. All right, news out of Bloomington. There's been some interest in the future of Mike Woodson, the head coach there, finishing up his third year. A bit of a disappointing season this season. The Hoosiers, the word is, plan to bring Mike Woodson back next year as the head basketball coach. Been a lot of speculation about that. The Hoosiers made the NCAA tournament his first 2 years as head coach. He started out 10-3 this year, 2-0 in the Big Ten, but lack of shooting saw them lose 10 out of 14 at one point, and there was a lot of grumbling going on in Bloomington. Look, the 65-year-old Woodson is a former Hoosiers star player back from the Bob Knight days, a former NBA player and a former NBA coach. Now, Woodson would have had a $12.6 million buyout if the Hoosiers decided to make a change, and they would have only had to pay that in $1 million increments for the next 12 years. That's not going to happen. He's coming back, and I like Mike Woodson. And, yeah, this was a disappointing year for the Hoosiers. But, look, you know, a guy that comes in with the legacy that he already has there, you get to the tournament the first 2 years, you have the down year this year, you got to give him the chance to dig out of it and see what happens next year. And then if you want to have a conversation, have the conversation. But I think this is the right move at Indiana. College football, I'm going to get to this in a minute. College football is trying to fix one of its problems, and I'm going to give you the details on that in a moment. Speaking of details, we talked about Caitlin Clark, and she can make less money going to the WNBA instead of staying in school for 1 more year. She's got another year of eligibility. She's got a 5th year. But she's going to the WNBA, and she's going to leave college basketball as the sport's all-time leading scorer, men's or women's. She's going to enter the WNBA draft. She's going to be the number 1 pick. The number 1 pick belongs to Indiana Fever. According to one source, her nil name, image, and likeness valuation this year is $3.5 million. That's 4th in college athletics behind Bronny James. That's LeBron James's son at USC. Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, quarterback of Colorado, and Libby Dunn, the gymnast. Her estimated rookie deal in the WNBA could be as low as $80,000. That's the average. That's where the rookies start. The average salary in the WNBA is like $140,000. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The top salary in the league is less than $250,000. However, you got to remember, no matter, even if she has a low base salary, she's going to be raking in national sponsorships. I'll tell you who they all are in a minute. And then jersey sales are going to be through the roof. Every young girl in the Midwest wants number 22 Caitlin Clark jersey. So she's going to make a lot of money. It just might not be her salary, but she's going to make a lot of money on the outside. Those national scholarships or sponsorships that she has right now are going to follow her to the WNBA. Why those companies would be crazy to drop her at this point. So she, by the way, get this right now, before she even plays in the WNBA, and this is just while she's at Iowa, she has deals with Nike, Gatorade, Bose, State Farm, Buick, Hy-Vee, H&R Block, Topps, Shoot Away, and Goldman Sachs. She's going to be just fine. She's going to be just fine. All right, so is college football going to fix one of its problems? Especially a problem I think my number one beef with college football, I think, is the calendar. It's too crowded. It's all jammed up into December, right? I'll give you an example. Once the season ends in late November, There's the early signing period in December for high school kids coming in. There's the transfer portal where you got to keep your own kids and recruit new ones to replace the kids that are leaving. By the way, there are bowl games for most teams to prepare for. There are playoff games to get ready for. Coaching changes, maybe coach coming in, getting fired, maybe a new one getting hired. All this is going on in December. And by the way, these college football types, maybe they want to spend 12 hours with their family on Christmas Day. I know that's all thrown in the mix as well. It's an insane schedule. And it's causing coaches to burn out and leave. By the way, I've always thought the early signing period was stupid and very unnecessary. I just stick with the traditional signing day in February like we used to have. We're good. There's no need to have multiple signing periods. More on that in a second. By contrast, look at the NFL. Once the season is over, everything is just spread out, and it's done on purpose for marketing. They're always in the news because they're always doing something. They always have talk radio hosts and podcast people talking about them all year round, whether there's games or not. Once the season is over, you've got the combine, you got free agency, you got team workouts, you got the draft. You got, and by team workouts, I mean the pro days at the colleges before the draft. You got the schedule release, the OTAs, mini camps. It's just nonstop. It's spread out. It's a beautiful work of art marketing-wise. So college jams it all in. Everybody's burning out, going crazy. NFL, just steady as she goes. Well, college football is trying to improve one of its scheduling situations. The Collegiate Commissioners Association voted on Wednesday to move the early signing period to the first week of December instead of right before Christmas. So for 2024, the signing period would be December 4th through the 6th, right at the end of the regular season. Then you get signing day for the new high school players for the following year. Then you can play your conference championships. And then a couple days later, the winter transfer portal opens up instead of going all at the same time. It's a step in the right direction. It still makes for a busy November. But this same association, they want to open up a third signing period for high school kids in the summertime. What are we doing? It's ridiculous. They said they want to study it further before committing to it, though. It's just a dumb idea, in my opinion. It's totally unnecessary. By the way, not that many junior high school players are already making verbal commitments at this point. That's a select few. That's far fewer than you think. And I'm not sure how many would sign letters of commitment more than a year in advance. It would happen. There are some, don't get me wrong. But, I know coaches make like $3 to $10 million a year, but give them at least 1 month off where they don't have to worry about it. Now you take up the summer with another signing period and more recruiting. It's absolutely ridiculous. We don't need 3 signing periods. Keep it to 1. Keep it to 1 in February, and we're good. All right? It's crazy. It's out of control. I got to jump in and say something. All right. Got more Big Ten women's basketball tournament action going on in Minneapolis. The Thursday schedule tonight. Today, this afternoon, depending on what time you're watching us here. There's one as early as 11:30 Central there in Minnesota in the morning. 12:30 Eastern time. Number 9 seed Illinois will be taking on Maryland. That's on the Big Ten Network. Purdue, which beat Northwestern 25 minutes later, will take on Nebraska. And then the 6:30 game is Wisconsin against Penn State, the 10th seed versus the 7th seed on the Big Ten Network. And then the winner of Rutgers, Minnesota, which is going on right now as we're taping this podcast, will take on 6th seed Michigan on the Big Ten Network as the nightcap. Men's action tonight. We got Rutgers at 15-14 taking on Wisconsin at Wisconsin. They're 18-11 trying to hang on Wisconsin. That's a 7:00 game Eastern time on FS1. Hey, by the way, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's Locked On Sports Today. It's here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe there. After you subscribe here to Locked On Big Ten and tell all your friends about it. All right, coming up, we're going to take a look at the Big Ten Classics and live schedule with all these tournament games and everything, and the wind down of the men's schedule for basketball all this weekend. We'll get you straight with what's going on the Big Ten Network. That's all right here in 1 minute on Locked On Big Ten. I'm excited about this. Fire TV. I want to tell you about it. It's not only a destination for sports and live games and highlights and in-depth analysis, but Fire TV also offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can just plug into your existing TV, and it provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. And whether it's opening weekend of baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Now, I'll also tell you that Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels that deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that includes Locked On. All the Locked On channels will be there. Most of the big pro leagues, college conferences as well. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all the game analysis, highlights, and everything you can think of to keep up to date to the latest things going on in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, everything you can think of. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos, everything. So check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. And if you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. So trust me on this. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Again, that is Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. All right, I want to take a look at what's coming up here this weekend. We always do this on Thursdays. We take a look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Big Ten Network, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to put it up here full screen for you to check out. And if you're on audio only, we'll describe it. But we got a very, very busy day starting on Friday, March 8th, and right there at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Got an Ohio State basketball classic. It's a women's basketball. It's the replay of the Iowa-Ohio State game back from January 21st. Cody McMahon scored 33 points and 12 rebounds in this one. Ohio State was only ranked 18th in the country at the time. This win really catapulted them to near the top of the rankings. They beat Caitlin Clark in overtime and Iowa 100-92. You may remember that's the game where they stormed the court. Caitlin Clark got knocked into and injured and had to be helped into the locker room. It was that game on January 21st. But you catch the replay of it at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the Big Ten Network. Also, Big Ten women's basketball, the tournament quarterfinal at 12:30. Number 1 seed Ohio State versus the winner of Maryland and Illinois. Then in a few minutes, about 25 minutes after that wraps at around 3 p.m., we've got more of the tournament quarterfinal. Number 2 seed Michigan will play an opponent to be determined. Then at 6:30, more of the quarterfinal. 3 seed Iowa, Caitlin Clark, right there. Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Central Time, taking on either the winner of Penn State or Wisconsin. And the 9 o'clock nightcap will be number 4 seed Indiana versus an opponent to be determined. All right, so let's go look ahead to Saturday and Sunday. We pick it up with 2 o'clock Eastern Time. More of the tournament, the semifinal. The first semifinal is at 2 o'clock for the women's tournament, followed by the second semifinal game at 4:30. And then by about 6:30, 7 o'clock, we'll know who's going to be playing in the championship game on Sunday for the women's tournament. And then we're not done. We cap it off at 9 o'clock Eastern Time with men's basketball. Minnesota taking on Northwestern. Boo Booey at home, saying goodbye to the crowd out there. And Minnesota just trying to get a quality win out the door, right? Sunday, March 10th, we pick it up at noon. More men's basketball, Nebraska versus Michigan. Phenomenal year for Nebraska and a woefully disappointing year for Michigan. At 2 o'clock, it's Ohio State versus Rutgers. And then at 7:30, Maryland is taking on Penn State. And that will do it for the regular season for the Big Ten for men's basketball. So you can catch all that on Sunday. And then we get ready for the Big Ten tournament the following later on that week. Ready to go. We're all very excited about it. So there's your schedule and a lot going on, a lot to keep track of. And that's why you have us. Locked On Big Ten. We'll help keep track of it all. In the meantime, if you want to shout out, keep in touch with us, hit us up on Twitter or X at TalkBig10 10. You see our website crawl on the bottom, TalkBig10 10.com. You can go, all of our podcasts are archived there if you want to go check it out there. And you can also get some Big Ten swag, shirts from your favorite teams, pennants, hats, the whole deal. It's all right there on the website. And don't forget, you can also leave us comments on YouTube as well. We always enjoy those. Always enjoy the back and forth. In the meantime, if you haven't yet already, please feel free to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And don't forget our friends at Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube as well. That'll do it for us. Thanks for checking us out. Can't wait till we meet again tomorrow. That'll be the Friday podcast, getting you ready for a big weekend around the Big Ten. Be sure and tell your friends about us. Spread the word of mouth. You have a Big Ten alum or friend that likes Big Ten, let them know that we're out here. That'll do it. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.